Good morning. Welcome to Southeastern 16. We're going to talk contenders. We're going to talk bracketology. We're going to talk SEC basketball. That's why you're here anyway. I'm joined by Max Barr. Still no background Max Barr. Blake Lovell coming to us from the frozen tundra of his garage where it is about 16 degrees. It's never too cold to talk basketball. Max Barr, we're going to get into some brackets today. For the record, it is way too early. I think at this point, I think what you watch for is big wins and things that don't sink your resume because, let's face it, for most of the teams out there, probably 75% of the work is yet to be done because that's where all the tough games are. SEC every night, these games matter. Most of them are going to be quad one games, some of them quad two games. Anyway, Max Barr, get us started off. Where do we want to head with this morning?
Well, not bracketology. Hold on. But we're definitely not going to get into bracketology first because there's something else we got to clean up before we get to bracketology. I mean, you're talking about big wins.
The title of the studio?
Well, we're talking about big wins, Chris.
I mean, there was one last night.
Yes, and we've not talked about it, so I think we should talk about it on the SEC basketball show. Here we go. Texas A&M, Max. What about that? You were trying to. I know what you were doing. At the end of the show, you were like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like what? You were trying to turn the momentum a little bit. A little reverse mojo. The reverse jinx is what you were going for. Little did we know that Max had all the power. The Aggies rally, 80-78 winners at Oklahoma. A big win. No Wade Taylor. Zurich Phelps goes for 87 points. Incredible performance for the Texas A&M Aggies.
Might be the best team ever to play the game.
Maybe. Could be. There's no facts to say that they're not, to be honest with you. There's no factual evidence that they're not. Yeah. So, yeah.
No, joking aside, the Zurich Phelps game. I was last night, it's about 1 a.m. and I'm like, all right, just get to bed because you got bracketology in the morning. And I am just laying down this 8-second clip of Zurich Phelps step back three, last possession, just on repeat. Had to be at least 10 minutes. What a shot. What a game. Also, though, Oklahoma, I mean, Goodine, you knew he was a good shooter. The percentages from Fairfield were great. And then he comes in and career high 9 threes. Career high for Zurich. It was one of those games where it was just like, I did not expect this to be as entertaining as it was. Huge win though for A&M. That's a game they don't win in years past on the road, giving up 34 to a single player. Incredible win. I couldn't sleep last night.
Goodine, by the way, let's note this, okay? Sometimes you see a guy hit 9 threes or something, and again, I mean, you don't see it often. But if you do, you're thinking, all right, that's a guy that's out there like Iron Man, right? He plays for all 40 minutes, and he's hit 9 threes. This dude hit 9 threes in 27 minutes of play. He's hitting a three every 3 minutes in this game. It's just every time he's on the court, like he's just, hey, I'm out here for 3 minutes. I could either go get a rebound, I could go get some popcorn at the popcorn stand, or I could just hit a three. And he decided, you know what? I'll just take the 3 points. So, my goodness, what a performance. But what a win for the Aggies.
Well, when I said check the box score, it'll make your eyes pop out. He had 20 of A&M's first 38 points.
That's why we're missing people this morning.
They weren't there for that. Right, that too. If they did listen, maybe they shouldn't have. But, I mean, so out of context for what he's done this year. Now, last year, I'm looking, he had a 37-point game. He's now been at 4 stops in 6 years because this is college basketball now. The other part of it last night that was interesting, the first 7 block shots of the game went to Oklahoma, which was like on nobody's radar to happen. But I think in the game, and yes, it did help that Zurich Phelps' defender fell down. But they went into it without Wade Taylor, which is why I switched my pick. But sometimes injuries can benefit you, right? We've talked about a team having to get stronger without a key guy or two and finding, okay, now that we don't have our guy that we've been counting on, can other dudes step up and make plays? And I think last night seeing Phelps step up and give them 34 and bring them down for, what was it, Max, 18? I mean, I think A&M, you would have loved to have had Wade Taylor going in the game. I thought that they had a slightly uphill battle to win it without him. But now that they have gone and won a game with him on the sidelines in street clothes playing cheerleader, I think you have to boost your opinion of the Aggies a half notch, which, by the way, was already going up anyway because last game they lost was, what, November?
They're on a roll. They got the nation's third longest win streak. They got 9 in a row. Moser said I did catch his post-game press conference because I was interested in what he had to say after, it's tough you lose a game like that. He said that, and I didn't really think about this until after he said it. He said, without Wade Taylor, they don't play a guy under 6'4". They were just huge out there. So when they tried to go with those multiple guard lineups and spread the floor, A&M was just bullying them physically, and he had to switch out of the small lineups to try to match up with them. So I thought that was like a little angle of the game. We didn't know Wade Taylor was going to be out, but that's a little angle that didn't really sync with me as I'm watching the game and we're on the live, trying to, keep an eye on every screen at one time. They were really, really big without Wade Taylor in the lineup.
Yeah.
Is that why Fears played 21 minutes last night? I think the second fewest he's played all year. And again, we were doing a live stream the first, 2/3 of that game. He didn't get in foul trouble. I guess I think you just must have unpacked the reasoning for that. But I don't know why you'd keep him off the floor that much.
Yeah, well, Phelps is like in first team all defense conversations, like up there top 5 in the league defenders, on ball defenders. So, and we just don't give him enough credit for that. You were giving him, didn't you mention him with Ziegler the other day, Chris? Phelps, his defensive rating?
Probably. Yeah, I do think that came up now that I think about it.
I think he had like some sort of defensive rating that was up there with Ziegler or something like that.
All right. $5 super chat from Zach. Back again. The streak continues. Zach continues on the super chat streak. Great win for the Aggies, but man, it's a brutal loss for Oklahoma. Zach's glad he's not a fan. Yep, those are not the kind of losses as a fan you want to deal with. Carter checking in, $4.99 super chat. Carter was in Columbia, Missouri the other night watching the Tigers beat the Tigers. The road in the SEC, so hard, man. It's going to be a tough road. Yeah, it is going to be tough. But what's interesting, though, is speaking of the word road, remember, I keep bringing up the home stats. The road teams are on a tear right now. They all of a sudden have decided, you know what? We think we may need to win some games because the road teams have won, I don't know how many, I feel like now, like 5 of the last 6 or something like that. Auburn won at Texas. Who was the other team that won the other night? Why am I forgetting this?
Alabama.
Tuesday night slate. Road game.
Mississippi
State
won.
Auburn, Mississippi State, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss. Yeah, so 5 of the last 6 have gone with road teams. So that's notable. So keep that in mind. Teams stealing wins. That's how you start to separate when we talk about this bracketology in a few minutes. That's how you're separating yourselves, getting some of these wins on the road. Mother Carol, $5 super chat, going to bed and had to stay up to watch the Aggies. Yeah, the comeback started. You knew it was on at that point, and yeah, things got a little wild there down the stretch. The Aggies pulling off a win, and just as a note, that is Texas A&M's. I can pull up my own stats here. Texas A&M now 4-1 in quad 1. How about that for the Aggies?
Ooh,
wow.
So, little quick picks update because I think I've got these right. Blake is in the lead because he picks last. That's the only reason why. Why.
Yep. Let's be honest here.
Blake is 13-1.
Woo.
Yep. The only game Blake has dropped is the Georgia game,
no,
right?
You're wrong. 12-2. Arkansas.
12-2. Arkansas. Yep. Thank you. This is why we do this.
Yep.
Blake's 12-2, and then Chris and I are both 11-3.
Does that
that's-
count me switching my pick from A&M to Oklahoma?
You would have been 12-2.
Ah,
I told you, Chris, don't ever. That's why I didn't do it. I said, once my pick is locked in, I don't care. Take the entire starting 5 out of the team that I picked. I'm still picking them. You go with your team, all right, and you stick with them. The gut is what gets you.
he's enjoying this, isn't he, Max?
Never.
The I'm on top and the I'm told you so together. That's quite a.
You know what?
There.
We've done 11 live streams now in the past 6 days. Every one of them, I've done it probably within sub 40-degree temperatures. So I don't want to hear any nonsense from any of you. I'll take my picks lead and do a victory lap for now. And, yeah, the rest of you can just – all right. Anyways, Keith saying, hey, I wake up, there's more Southeastern 16 on the YouTube. Yeah, what do you know? Keith, it's like any time of day. You never know when we're going to just pop up. So –
Got a super chat.
Yep.
$5. Virginia double dribbled.
Did they?
Am I the only one who
think they
thinks
did.
Oklahoma and Texas need some serious home court upgrades to make their arenas as daunting as many of the existing SEC venues? I will say, when Beard was at Texas and he had that team with Marcus Carr, Sir'Jabari Rice, Timmy Allen, that Texas team that was like top 10, you tune into some of those games, all the students would have like the pool noodles where they're shaking them. The place just looks like a madhouse. Hasn't had that feel to it. So, not wrong.
Winning takes care of a lot of things. Like, I mean, it's just like if you're a ranked team, if you're in, I mean, Oklahoma, I thought that was a good atmosphere last night.
Sure.
But again, I think that's it. Like, winning takes care of a lot of that. And for Texas, I mean, keep in mind too, Texas had a big game against Auburn on Tuesday. In the state of Texas, they got an even bigger game tomorrow in another sport. So, not to say that it's just sometimes that's the way it works. So, but anyways.
Want to get into some bracketology?
Yeah, let me make sure we've cruised through a lot of this stuff here. Get a couple more comments in, and we'll jump into the bracketology. We appreciate all the super chats this early, folks. We're only 12 minutes in. We got a lot of super chats. So we appreciate that. Yeah, I'll save this one for a certain thing later. Yeah, Arkansas. Shane brings up Arkansas. Boy, yeah, that's not ideal there.
Yeah, JC put out a tweet. He was like, I think it was this morning. He was either this morning or late last night, and he was like, Hogs fans genuinely wondering, like, I haven't seen, this disinterested at this point. And he was basically just saying, like, what's everyone's take on it? There's some honesty in the comments. If you want to go give our guy JC Hoops a follow.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. Okay, so in terms of the brackets and all this, when we look at sort of the projected seeding and those kind of things. But by the way, Nathan says he expects the SEC network to be calling anytime soon. Nathan, if the SEC network wants to stay on air, they're not calling us. All right? Are you kidding me? You imagine the Sanders Logistics reads on the SEC network? Come on. We can't do that.
Imagine Sam Smith on the SEC network.
Oh, gosh. Can you imagine that? Man. Anyways. But, okay. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the quick, because I did tweet this out this morning. I think this is an interesting starting point. All right? In terms of looking at the number of big wins teams have banked to this point. Because as we keep saying, right, how many quad one games are there going to be in SEC play this season? Going to be a lot of them. So let's look at those here. All right, let me find the numbers here. All right, I'm going to run through this quickly. Updated quad one records for SEC teams.
What we got?
Auburn is now 7-1 in quad one games. A distant second, Mississippi State 4-0. Quad one. Texas A&M is 4-1. Ole Miss is now 4-2.
Ooh.
Tennessee is 3-1. Florida is 3-1. Alabama is 3-2. Oklahoma is 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky is 3-3. Georgia is 2-2. Vanderbilt 1-1. Missouri 1-3. Arkansas 1-4. LSU is 0-3. South Carolina is 0-3. Texas 0-4, and they've got 4 straight quad 1 games, I think, coming up next. So, wow. So there you go.
Woo.
Thoughts on that?
Texas in an early hole.
Well, I kind of try to log like who the wins are and where they are, because some of these are going to fall out. Some of these teams have built a net empire by blowing out teams that aren't going to even sniff the NCAA tournament, maybe not the second round of their conference tournaments. But I continue to say, look at what Auburn is doing. Look at where the wins are coming from. Roughly in order of importance, you can nitpick me on some of these. Houston, in Houston, but not on Houston's campus. Iowa State, that was in Hawaii. Purdue, semi-home, I think that was in Birmingham. Memphis, neutral floor, that was in Hawaii. Ohio State, neutral floor, that was where, Max? Indianapolis? I forgot. No, Atlanta. And then at Texas, and then Missouri, which I think is a tournament team. We'll see if it gets there in Auburn. Nobody has got 7 wins like Auburn's got. I'm not sure anybody's got 5 wins like Auburn's got.
Yeah, that's incredible. And what also stood out to me was, where's Kentucky with 6 quad 1 games? That's tied second most in the league with Ole Miss. So, I mean, we always talk about Auburn's strength of schedule, Alabama's strength of schedule, and Kentucky with 6 quad 1. I wouldn't have said that just off the top of my head.
Where is Houston in bracketologies today? And I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Houston on Bart Torvik and their T-Ranketology is what he calls it. T-Ranketology.
Boy, that's easy to say.
That's what he calls it. But he has Houston as the final 1 seed. So I don't know, either a 2 probably more likely, but 2 are the last one.
Well, and this is why I don't put a lot of stock into bracketologies. Is BYU in there anywhere? And I'll tell you why I'm asking.
BYU they have the last 4. They're in the last 4 buys. Okay. So they're right on the bubble.
Unless I'm missing something, BYU is the only NCAA tournament caliber team, if we did it today, that Houston has beaten. And with losses, by the way, Auburn, that was in Houston, Alabama, neutral floor loss, and San Diego State, also neutral court loss. Now, all 3 of those teams would be in the NCAA tournament. But, I mean, best win outside that is maybe, other than BYU at home, is maybe TCU at home, maybe Butler at home. And here's my point. That really underscores what Auburn's done, because you're looking here sitting at a team that is allegedly a 1 seed right now, and you compare what Auburn did to what Houston has done, and it's not even in the same universe. Yeah. Not to mention Auburn beat Houston head-to-head.
I mean, what does Auburn have to do at this point to not be a 1?
Someone asked us last night, like, how many games does Auburn need to win to make the NCAA tournament? And we said, I don't know, I think 5 or 6 more. Literally.
Because when you put it that way, I mean, that's a fantastic point. You know, a team like Houston with the resume that they have being predicted, you know, I don't know, say a 2 right now. You know, how much does Auburn have to fall back to? I mean, I like how you brought that up.
All right. Let's keep moving here. So as it stands right now, I think the most interesting, and by the way, Lenardi's going to update his bracket here in about probably 10 minutes. If you want that, you can also go to Bracket Matrix, as we always say. The thing about Bracket Matrix is that it's a good combination of everything, but you're just not going to have everybody updating at the same time, so there's always going to be a little bit of a lag in terms of probably the consistent projections. But look, it's pretty clear. Again, Auburn is either, I mean, I think Auburn's still the top overall seed if you're playing the tournament today. Even though Duke may make a push for that, I still think it's Auburn. And then I think what's going to be interesting is Tennessee, right? Because we said the thing with Tennessee was that, it was sort of the signature win type thing. And I mentioned they're 3-1 in quad one games. And now that they have the big blowout loss at Florida, does that drop them into that 2 category right now? Do they stay on the 1 line? Like, those are interesting discussions, I think, with Tennessee heading into the weekend. But doesn't really matter right now, but you get my point.
Yeah, I really like Bart Torvik because he updates it constantly. And I'll real quick just give you a run through the seed lines. If my browser would stop freezing, what a disaster, Max. Someone say something while I try to figure out this browser.
Tennessee.
Go ahead,
I'm just going to say, Tennessee, 10 of their 14 wins are quad 3 and quad 4 games. So they've only played 5 games in quad 1 and quad 2. They're 4-1, but I think that is at least probably worth mentioning in terms of the seeding right now as it stands. Now, again, there's a lot of other SEC teams who have a lot of quad 3, quad 4 type wins, but that is notable, I think, right now.
Yeah, Tennessee's best wins in some order. At Illinois, Baylor neutral floor, at Louisville, and Arkansas. We'll see if that one holds up as being worth anything.
Sorry, my computer is freezing up on me. I can't get anything to load.
I think we've glossed over the SEC's second best. Well, not glossed over. We just haven't gotten to it. Second best resume so far, and that's Alabama, which I think is going to start quickly making a push for a 1 seed. Wins Houston neutral floor, Illinois. I think that was in Birmingham. Oklahoma at home Saturday, and that blowout in Creighton, which I think is if it can adjust without Pop Isaacs. Is Creighton in a bracket projection right now?
It finally loaded for me, and Creighton is last 4 in right now. So
okay.
Bubble.
What about for Tennessee? What about Louisville? 1.4 wins above bubble and Bart Torvik, but also 11-5.
Louisville's a 10 seed right now.
Okay, so that's a notch in Tennessee's belt at the moment, and it will be anyway because that was a road game and a road blowout at that. But
yeah, okay, I'm gonna run through them real quick. So Auburn 1 seed, Tennessee 1 seed, Alabama is the first number 2, so they're right up there. Florida is the last number 2, so there's 4 teams in the top 2 seeds. Mississippi State is the first number 3 seed, so they're right up there, knocking on the door of a 2 seed. Then Kentucky and Texas A&M are 4 seeds. Then there's a little bit of a gap. So we were talking about tiers kind of forming. I think we had a question last night, like, will there'll be a gap in tiers in the bracketology? Yes. So after there's 7 teams in the top 4, then it drops down to Ole Miss at 7. And then you have Oklahoma and Missouri as a 9. And then everybody else is right on the bubble. He has Texas as a last 4 bye, so 60% of a bid. Arkansas is the first team out, 46% for a bid. And Vanderbilt's last 4 in, 51% for a bid. But Texas, Vandy, and Arkansas are all right at like 50-ish%.
When was this updated?
This morning.
Okay, who are we using again? I'm sorry, I had my head in the data
Bart
while
Torvik.
You were telling me.
Okay.
Bart Torvik has also got Alabama 4.2 wins above bubble, Tennessee 3.4, and reading through the resumes, I think you can make an argument that
I missed Georgia
for now that Alabama might have edged into that 1 seed. But I mean, it doesn't matter. There's so many games to go, but just that was kind of interesting. Sometimes these things take a couple of days to react to what happened, and I wonder if all this week's games have been totally factored in yet.
They have. Georgia's 8 also. I forgot Georgia.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Skipped over them. But yeah, so right now Bart Torvik's got 12 teams in with with Vandy as a play-in game and then Arkansas as the first team out. So, thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Thoughts on that bubble?
I don't really know what Texas has done over Arkansas to be ahead of them, but maybe it's just the computers. So I don't.
The reason why is because Texas's net is 37 and Arkansas's is 57. That's why.
Well, I think there's got to be a little bit of projection in here that, okay, they haven't really earned it yet, but we think that they'll get there. That's the only explanation, because resume wouldn't do it.
Yeah, Arkansas has a win over Michigan. Texas's best win is not even close to that, and Texas has, multiple losses as well. So I don't know. Again, it doesn't matter today, but everybody likes to be updated with the bracketology, and so
that's
I
where
just
it's
think
at.
Arkansas still has a better profile than Texas, but it's not like we're comparing apples and oranges here. We're like, this is, if you're in this range, like, your resume's got some flaws. Right, and so
Yep.
Arkansas's resume's got some flaws, so yeah, so this is again where we start to separate. As we said, there was going to be separation.
Yep.
This is where we're starting to see it early on, like not just in the SEC standings, 2 games in, but like we talk about opportunities and potential missed opportunities. Arkansas had one last night at home against Ole Miss, and they have Florida now on Saturday. If you miss another opportunity, then you just keep going the wrong way. And Texas, we talked about their schedule. What was it? Texas has got, I think, a decent % chance to be 0-5 in the league or whatever, based on when we ran through their schedule last night. So they're going to be flying further and further away from that spot if that happens. So just something to think about with those kind of teams. But I think, to me, the teams that are most interesting right now, when it comes to, like, as you're looking ahead, you're projecting those kind of things, like, it is the teams that probably have surprised some people in terms of having those 4 quad 1 wins to this point, Mississippi State and Texas A&M. Because those are teams that legitimately have arguments for number 2 seeds right now based on what they've done to this point. A&M's 14 in Ken Pom, Mississippi State's 16. You look at the updated net, and let me pull this up here real quick.
Mississippi State is 11 in the net, A&M 17.
12 and 15 now. Mississippi State's 12. A&M moved up 2 spots to 15 after the win last night. So, yeah, so you've got Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi State, Texas A&M. They're all in the top 15 in the net at this moment. And that's where, like I keep saying with A&M, they've won, 13 games now? Is that right? They've only played 6 in quad 3 and quad 4. They're 7-2 in the first 2 quads now. Mississippi State's 6-1. So, yeah.
I would bet you money. I haven't played it all the way out yet, but there are not 5 teams in the country with better wins than A&M. Texas Tech neutral, Purdue semi-away, Ohio State neutral, Creighton neutral, at Oklahoma, Texas. Like, most teams are struggling to have 3 or 4 really great wins. We talked about Houston earlier. Houston's got 1 win over a team that would be in the field right now and is a 1 seed. I think, and this is what I pay attention to this time of the year, is like, what have you banked? I don't really pay attention to the seeds and where everybody's got them, because that's going to change when they start playing real teams, which some of them have and some of them not. But you start stringing together wins like A&M and Auburn do, and you can hit a little losing streak, and you're just not going to start getting knocked down many seed lines because of what you built. That's what you watch right now, is what have you built as a foundation, because you can't go back and take those wins away.
Yeah, Buzz Williams, he was a 3 seed twice with Marquette, and he was a 4 seed once with Virginia Tech. He 3 seed is the highest that he's been. I believe that was the Jay Crowder Vanderbilt team that was the 3 seeds at Marquette. But flirting with one of his with matching his career best. They're at a 4 seed right now. Here's a question for you guys. Here's a question, fun one. So we're starting to get tiers with the seeding. Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi State, Kentucky, and A&M are top 4 seeds. And then you have Ole Miss, Georgia, Oklahoma, Mizzou, Texas, Vandy, Arkansas, all kind of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-ish. Here's a question. Any of those teams 1 through 4, do you expect or could you see them dropping into that 6, 7, 8 range? And then the flip side, any of those teams that are like 8, 9s right now that you could be like, I think they might put together a little bit and could see them more like a 5 seed. Take that wherever you want.
Give me the list again of the 1 to 4s.
It's Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi State, Kentucky, and A&M. That's the 7 teams that have a 1 through 4 projection right now.
Did you say Kentucky or no?
Kentucky and A&M are projected 4.
Oh boy, how many teams?
That's 7 teams as top 4 seeds. And the reason the reason I bring this up is because my answer is, I think the only answer is some of those teams that are like 7, 8, 9, Ole Miss, Georgia, Oklahoma, Mizzou. I think the only thing is they might be able to creep up and gain some wins. But I think those 7 teams in the SEC right now that are projected top 4 have already done so much work in quad 1 that they really gotta, go through a few games of a drought for their analytics to drop enough for them to not be like a top 4, top 5 seed. That's why I brought it up.
Here's what happens this time of year is, and they brought this up on one of the broadcasts last night, maybe in Mike Morgan on the A&M Oklahoma game. You can't just forget what a team did in non-conference play, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think we are at that point where, like, some of these teams are going to lose some games, and It's like, uh-oh, the sky is falling. No, it's not. Like, the SEC had the best non-conference performance we have ever seen. And for that reason, those games matter. And so that's why we keep saying, the thing is, like you said, Max, if you're doing this with these teams that are so high up there, it's going to take them being close to the complete opposite of what they've been to this point, halfway through the season, the rest of the way, for them to fall back very much at all. Because wins over Houston, Iowa State, and keep going down the line, right, of everybody else who has these kind of wins. You just mentioned A&M's wins, Mississippi State's wins. Like, they all matter. They're not just going to disappear just because they lose a game to the 12th place SEC team, right? Those wins don't just disappear. And so, yes, conference play matters. It's important, but it's still the same equation it's always been. It is your full body of work, and this is why we kept saying and kept pointing out all the historical trends for the SEC and non-conference play, because that means just as much on your overall resume. And remember, like they always say now, right? We always have fun with the conference record, what could get in, what couldn't. Tournament committee does not, that's not a big thing. It's your overall body of work. That's why a 7-11 West Virginia has gotten in before, right? It's why multiple 8-10 SEC teams get in all the time. So, it matters in terms of pride, wanting to win the league, all this other stuff, but I don't see that group. Like, it's hard to just be sold on the idea that one of those teams is going to completely fall down 3 or 4 seed lines, because right now they bank so many good wins and still have so many available that, like I said, one of these teams is going to have to completely play the opposite way that they have to this point, because it's going to be tough. And like Max said, the good news is for the entire SEC, and especially if your teams like Missouri and Georgia and so forth, there are so many opportunities for you to move up into that same category. But it's going to take a lot for some of these teams to move down, because they've already built just, incredible resumes. So,
all right, let's go through it team by team, and we'll look at it and maybe look at worst case scenarios just in case. Because right now it's hard for me to tell you which of those teams would fall out. But let's dive in a little bit. Auburn. I mean, I don't know what it would take Auburn for Auburn. I mean, a meteor would have to hit the basketball complex or something. No, so let's not waste. Tennessee, I know what happened in Gainesville left an awful taste in everyone's mouth about that team, but you've got a win at Illinois, which was a really great win there. Looks even better since then. Baylor, I feel like, has gotten a little better. The win at Louisville might have some staying power. You beat Arkansas, who knows? I mean, right now doesn't seem like a lot, but Arkansas's got talent. I mean, Rick Barnes' track record, not just for getting to the tournament, but like when's the last time Tennessee wasn't like a top 4 seed?
I'm not worried about Tennessee.
3 or 4 years ago, they were a 5 and lost to Oregon State. It was the 12.
Okay. So even
That's
when
it.
they weren't a top 4, they were a 5.
That tournament doesn't count. It was a weird.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. I don't see Alabama. I mean, Alabama is locked in a 1 or a 2 right now with the revolving door of injuries and whatever, and Mark Sears not playing up to Mark Sears and Big Cliff not playing up to what he can do. Like, I cannot imagine a scenario where Alabama plays at a worse level going forward than it has. And it's not like it's played bad, but I think there's more there for that team, so I can't see that one. Florida is in that range of a team. I think we all agree. Now, the thing is the wins were a little light. You finally got one against Tennessee. That could be the thing that would knock Florida out. It needs to bank wins to match the reputation. Any disagreements with me so far?
No, I think those top 4 seeds, the 7 of them, I think they're pretty much locked in. I can't see just because of what they've done already. Yeah.
I have Florida's fine. I don't see them going anywhere.
Okay, let's go next to Mississippi State, which has got a really nice body of wins so far. At Memphis, at SMU, at Vanderbilt, and Pitt at home in a demolition. Am I missing one there? They might have even gotten someone else for all I know.
Did you say SMU on the road?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. So that's, I mean, right now, the team that I saw the other night.
SEC football's in the chat saying, is he crazy for saying Mississippi State is an Elite 8 team? Not at all.
So that's one that looks good. Kentucky, the computers would have a little bit of an issue with Kentucky in terms of would they see Kentucky as a top 16 team? That would be up for some debate right now. But again, what did you lock in? And this is what really Kentucky's beaten Duke on a neutral floor. That's as good a win as anybody's had in college basketball this year, other than who was it beat? Oh, well, Duke beat Auburn, right? Yeah. But that was in Cameron.
On a neutral. Yeah.
So you could argue Kentucky's got the best win in college basketball right now. One, Gonzaga, I know it wasn't in Spokane, but it was in Seattle. And then you beat Florida. I mean, that's Kentucky's probably got the 3 best wins that anyone's got this year.
That's why it's so hard to see them drop, because
yeah.
Duke is what they're going to do to the ACC. I mean, they're not going anywhere. So that win is just going to look better and better as the year goes on. I don't see, Kentucky, we did have a few comments though. If we do want to, I'm going to have to go.
Well, and not to mention Kentucky beat Louisville, which again, probably an NCAA tournament team or close to it if you pick the field today. That was at home.
Yeah, this is a good comment because I think we have all this discussion about Kentucky right now, but here's the issue potentially. Like, they're at Mississippi State on Saturday, home games against A&M and Alabama next week. Then they're back-to-back road games at Vanderbilt and Tennessee. So, it could get a little interesting if they're not, winning the home games there and maybe stealing one on the road, which, one of those road losses in that discussion would be at Vanderbilt, which wouldn't be a terrible loss by any means. Not would have been in recent years. So Kentucky's got they got a tough stretch here coming up, and even beyond that. Remember, they still have 2 games left against Tennessee. They still got to go to Alabama. They got a home game against Auburn. So we'll see, but I think sometimes it's like, you still got to win games, and it's going to be tough kind of with their upcoming schedule. So if they bank a couple of those, though, it's the same discussion, right? We just keep adding on to the good wins they have, and they may pick up a couple losses, but the good wins are still going to kind of help that. So,
but wins above bubble, there's 17, so they're right on that edge. But again, I think when you start looking at who they were, that's going to
Real
be
quick,
hard to forget.
here's their Ken Palm, their game projections, just so you get a little bit of a feel of what maybe the betting spreads will be and just how this stretch is going to play out. All right, so on Saturday at Mississippi State, Kentucky is projected to lose by 5. Then Tuesday at home, win by 2 over A&M. Then Saturday at home against Alabama, lose by 1. And then you have the midweek off. And then at Vanderbilt Saturday, win by 2. And so the next 4 games, you're probably going to have betting spreads of 1 basket, maybe 2 baskets for 4 games in a row. Buckle up.
But isn't that like almost all the league in the same situation, maybe other than Auburn, maybe other than a Tennessee or a Florida if they hit a stretch of home games? I feel like everybody's kind of in that same area.
Oh yeah, I was just pointing out how it's
I
going to
get
be
it.
probably 4 games of near pick'em.
And look, we said it earlier, like Skyler's asking, like Kentucky's 3-3 in quad 1. So like they may have some of the losses, right? But like they have the wins that sort of equal it out. So like as long as you just keep on that pace, like that's all you got to do, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if you lose some of these games as long as you win others that are going to kind of equal it all out. And remember, like we said, look at the work they've done before SEC play. And yes, people are going to point out a couple of those losses, but it's the same formula. As Chris said, I mean, there's nobody maybe that has a better trio of wins than they have. So it all winds up equaling out, and that's why we're really trying here to find ways to knock teams down, but it's not easy so far. Now, if you're 1-5 in SEC play, it becomes a little bit easier to start saying, you got some problems here. We got to make up some ground, but right now, it's not the case. So
Kentucky's the one that's going to have a big range of outcomes because a lot of that's depending on are they hitting threes, and you saw what happened when Brea had the flu or whatever and wasn't himself the other night. And again, that was on the road, and we've heard a lot about whistles there. And there was the blue cane assault. Say that sarcastically.
Not just threes though, too. I think Kentucky's got to be more physical. I think that's the
right. Well, that too. Yeah. It's not Rick Pitino's just throwing athletes all over the floor at you. And that's I'm not trying to slight what Mark Pope has done. He came into rebuild's not the word, but he rebuilt that team through the portal. And he did a phenomenal job with it. But it's they don't have a Ron Mercer or all the guys they had, or even some of the guys that Cal was bringing in. It's just a different make of a team.
Love this comment from nobody. We can lose every game till February 1st. We win that one, I'll be happy. Spoiler alert, February 1st. The Hogs and the Cats. There you go. All right, we got to move quicker here. We're getting let's move to the next group or whoever we're moving to.
Hunter's wondering if we've done some bubble talk yet. We mentioned it.
There.
We mentioned it, but we haven't dove in yet. If you guys want to.
All right. Who's next on the group? We got to Kentucky. Let's pick it up here. Who's next?
Let's go to the bubble.
Oh, I thought we were going team by team. I thought that we were still on Chris's team by team.
Okay. You tell me where to go, and we'll go there.
Let's go to the bubble. We got Bart Torvik projections right now. Missouri, Oklahoma, and Georgia are 8 through 9s, and he gives them 85 to 90% chances at a bid. And then it drops off real quick. You've got Texas, Vandy, Arkansas, all right at about a 50% chance at a bid. Texas, Vandy, and Arkansas right now is our bubble. LSU is 35th in the teams out ranking, so they got a good amount of work to do to get back up to the bubble. Yeah. Right now, it's Arkansas, Vandy, and Texas.
I'd say there are 2 teams that are not officially out, but it's a long road ahead, and I think that's LSU and South Carolina. Everybody else is still in play, and so that's probably how we're going to have to do this. And like we said, if Texas starts 0-5 or something, maybe we start to look at Texas and say, oh, boy, they're going to really have to make up some ground. Now, the good news is all those are going to be quality losses if they do start 0-5. But I think, that's – and everybody else is still in play. So it's just like you mentioned, Max, like who are those bubble teams, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Texas, right now. Everybody else seems like they're in pretty good position. But this league is ruthless. And could we see one of those teams that right now is a projected 8, 9, 10 type seed? What about Missouri? Missouri's an interesting one. I think they're kind of, where do we say the projection was for them right now?
They're projected a 9, but they could be grouped into that bubble. We could group them in.
Yeah,
definitely. They don't have numbers that separate them much from that group at all.
Okay, wins above bubble. Vanderbilt of that group right now, according to Bart Torvik, the best at 0.9. But that is sort of a cobbled together by virtue of being 13-2 situation. Like you dig into who they beat. I'm not sure there's an NCAA tournament team in there. Nevada may get there. Who knows? Maybe TCU gets there. But they're borderline. They're more NIT level wins, and they benefited by not dropping one somewhere that they – well, I mean, you can argue maybe they should have beaten Drake, but that's not an awful loss. Question with them is, can they grab big ones down the line? And that's really the thing. I think keep an eye out. Do they get Jason Edwards healthy? Because he got knocked out of the first half of that LSU game, has not been the same since. He is the go-to bucket maker for them. I think the Missouri game for them is a big one. And I don't know if he's going to be well or not well. Watch the injury reports on that one. So I think they've got – if you look at combo of upside and body of work, that feels like the hardest one to get there. But right now they're ahead of the pack in the metrics just because being 13-2. Missouri, I continue to say I think that is – I would – if I said take one of those teams, who's going to get there, I would bet Missouri above any of them. We'll see if that holds up. Texas was about 0.4 wins below bubble. So that means it's what I said. It's teams. It's somebody saying, all right, the resume's not there. I think the talent for Texas is good enough that it'll get there. And I can't argue that. That might be right. And then Arkansas, man, God only knows. The whole basketball universe is down on Arkansas. I know I have been. You look at those players, and to be fair, Max, they have not had a healthy complement of players all year. You know, you had stuff with Adu starting the year. You had stuff with John L. Davis. I mean, Adu's been to an Elite Eight, been a big part of that team. Davis has been a Final Four, was a ringleader at Florida Atlantic. Brazil's a good player. He's been hobbled. They got Boogie Flynn, who's an NBA draft pick. I mean, the talent is there if that doesn't fall apart for them to make it and make it easily. But I think we just all sit and throw up our hands with that team. And not all of that is on Cal, right? Some of that is just bad luck with guys and health. And I don't know that that's going to change. I'm worrying if guys are still dealing with injuries that were bothering them before the season started. Does the playing through that allow them to go away? We will wait and see.
I think Hunter brings up a good point here. He says Vandy will play spoiler in some of these bigger games. I've got 3 home games circled for Vandy. You got home against Tennessee, you got home against Kentucky, and you got home against Auburn. You get one of those, that could be kind of that anchor that sinks your teeth into a 9 seed, into a 10 seed, especially Tennessee or Auburn. I know that gets going. They're going to be probably near 3, 4, maybe even 5 basket underdogs. Kentucky will be up there as well. Probably only like a 1 or 2 possession spread, but those 3 games, home against Tennessee, Kentucky, and Auburn, you get one of those. I feel like that's that anchor that's going to cinch them in.
Yep. Just quickly, if you want to project ahead to ESPN BPI, of course, I put the stat out there. Everybody ran with it on the how the SEC teams had the 16 toughest strength of schedule entering SEC play. No longer the case. There is a team that has infiltrated that group. It is Indiana, who has the 8th toughest remaining strength of schedule. However, the SEC holds the other 16 spots in the top 17.
Poor Indiana.
Updated for SEC teams. South Carolina, still the toughest remaining schedule. Alabama, the second toughest remaining schedule. LSU third, Ole Miss fourth, Mississippi State fifth, Vanderbilt sixth, Auburn seventh, Kentucky ninth, Texas A&M 10th, Texas 11th, Arkansas 12th, Tennessee 13th, Oklahoma 14th, Missouri 15th, Georgia 16th, and the Florida Gators 17th. Now, please keep in mind there, you're going to say Florida has the easiest schedule in the SEC. It is the 17th toughest schedule in the country remaining. So just remember that. It may be what you say is the easiest of the other teams, but it's still the 17th toughest in the country. So it's not easy by any means. I saw a lot of people saying that, like, oh, well, Florida got away with a tough, easy schedule. No, they didn't. No one did. It's just that's what we're looking at this season, folks. So there you have it.
I'm glad you brought that up. Because if you're looking for worst case scenarios, like I'm trying to think of the wins that would register is the biggest deals on a resume, and I'm looking at their opportunities. Probably Tennessee, that's away. Maybe Florida just matches up with them favorably. Ken Palm has still got that as a 3-point Tennessee game. We know about the Vols in Food City. Auburn away. Nobody's going to Auburn and winning that building right now. Hardly anyone's beating Auburn anywhere, anytime, anyway. Mississippi State, that's away. That's going to be a tough one. Alabama, that's on the road. All the games that, like, when you're looking at it going, all right, they beat a top 10 ranked team for whatever that's worth. All those games are on the road. So I'm looking into going, all right, if they notch some home wins, what are the biggest opportunities in terms of how much does this do for your resume? Texas A&M March 1st, that would be an attention getter. Ole Miss March 8th, that would probably be an attention getter. We think Ole Miss is the tournament team. Oklahoma February 18th. I think Oklahoma makes the tournament, but maybe not. A lot of the predictives suggest that's a bubble level team. So how much weight does that carry? I don't know. Vandy, same scenario. That's a home game. Georgia, I think Georgia's a tournament. But you see my point? Like the wins that really lodge and get people's attentions. The Alabamas, the Auburns, the Tennessees. Now, they banked one already, but all those opportunities going forward are on the road. And so I think Florida's a team that needs to bank some more wins, and it's going to be a little difficult with how the schedule sets up.
I don't know, man.
I was just going to say that.
They're fifth.
I'm not worried at all.
They're fifth in Ken Palm. Like even if they lose some of these games, they're not dropping far at all.
Yeah, I think they're set.
I think we pay more attention to it than the committee does, because I remember looking at Duke a few years ago and thinking, like, if you're paying attention, Tennessee's a 2 seed easy and Duke's a 4 maybe. The committee made Duke a 2, didn't have a lot of wins behind it. I thought Tennessee had racked up. And, I remember when the pairing came out, I was like, what in the world? I remember watching these in the past, and I'm going, all right, A&M just made a run in the tournament. That should get in. And I just think sometimes I think we look at this more than the committee does, honestly.
Well, you're welcome, SEC fans. What do you got, Max? You're looking up something over there.
Yeah, I might be. Why, can you hear my typing?
No, I can just tell. I can tell you're looking up something.
Because Skylar asked a good question. She said, how many teams make the Final Four? And I know I know. Don't answer it just yet. But I can't find it right now. It might have been Evan Mia. It might have been Ryan Hammer. Someone put out the efficiency map for analytical footprints that are capable of making the Final Four. And he kind of mapped it into national championship caliber, Final Four caliber, Sweet 16. Oh, it was Evan. Okay, I'm gonna pull it up real quick. Got it right here. So here's I'll try to make it full screen. Yeah. Okay. So college basketball predicted efficiency landscape. Team ratings at Evan Mia predict future per possession efficiency. title favorites, Final Four, hit or miss, happy to be here, the rest.
7, 6.
Gosh.
So there
1,
you have
2,
it. We have
3, 4. Yeah.
Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State, A&M, all with Final Four potential right now based on – and Ole Miss is knocking – and Kentucky are both knocking on the door, probably just a good game or two away from maybe being in that group. But if you wanted a visualization, here's a good one.
And yet, what would you bet that at least one team that's not in that group, maybe two, get in? Because the tournament's a random event, and that's how it works.
Well,
like who had George Mason as a final team? Who had VCU?
Oh, yeah, that's just
all kinds
the nature
of
of the beast.
Last year, NC State.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for 4. I'm rooting for 4 SEC teams in the Final Four.
Yep.
Because I just want to see this channel lose its mind. But I'm rooting for 4. So that's what I'm going for in the right scenario. But
how about Alabama though having a a better chance according to this than Tennessee? I would agree with that too. I think they got that team build. It's just a little bit more fit for multiple styles in the tournament.
All right. Well, listen, Big Baller Brett wants me to pick 4 SEC teams. Okay. Let's see. Let me pick 4. Auburn, Big Baller Brett. I'll start with them because I know that would make you happy. Let's see. Who should I pick? Auburn. Actually, I'm going to make it easy. Anybody but Alabama. All right. give me any 4 teams except for Alabama. Big Baller Brett. That's what I'm going with. Okay.
Awfully early in the morning to be picking fights, Blake.
Big Baller Brett knows I am just messing with you. As he notes here, yes, Alabama's metrics continue to rise, as Chris said, moving towards that number 1 seed for the Tide right now. And yeah, Big Baller Brett says he was in the super chat. No, he wasn't. He was not. Okay. Speaking of super chats, we forgot to get to one earlier from Zach. $5 super chat. Should do picks for which teams end up which seeds and see who gets the most correct by March. We're not going to do that right now, but I think this is a great exercise, and we should do this at some point soon. So.
Next bracketology. It's on the schedule.
How about that? Next week. Let's put it on the schedule.
Put a pin in it.
All right. We got quite a few chats that we need to get to here, and then we will get to...
I like Cole's prediction here. I think it might be the most accurate.
I like that.
Five SEC teams in.
Have an alternate team waiting in the wings if needed. So, all right. Let's see what else we got here. By the way, a comment from earlier. Been getting them into basketball. That's what we try to do here.
Right.
Can the Georgia game plan against Kentucky work against Florida and all Auburn caliber teams where they need a shootout with them? I think it depends on where the game's played. Honestly, like it's weird to say, but
yeah,
are those games? And I mean, I have to look at the schedules; they all run together, but it can work. I just feel like, as we said, if you're playing a team on the road, especially those kind of teams right now, I would expect Auburn to put up a lot of points in their gym. I would expect Florida to put up a lot of points in their gym, no matter the game plan of the opponent. So that's the thing, right, Max? It's like, can Georgia shoot it well enough in those kind of games on the road? We saw their first road game against Ole Miss, which is different than probably Auburn and Florida in terms of the offensive output right now, but still something to note, I think.
I'll give you the positive and negative scenario there. Positive is they've got Ace and Newell. As great as this league is, most teams don't have one of those. The negative, what type of player in this league gets disproportionately called for fouls? Bigs, star bigs.
Are you saying like foul trouble?
Yes, and especially on the road. I mean, like how many times have we watched a game and somebody's big's on the shelf with 5 minutes left in the first half with 3 fouls? Picks up 2 minutes into the second half. I mean, that's the issue, and I think he kind of hit on it, or someone did later in the chat.
Well, Newell does a pretty good job at not getting foul trouble. He's only had 2 games this year with more than 3 fouls. Past the first 2 SEC games, 31 minutes against Ole Miss, only 3 fouls. 34 minutes against Kentucky, only 2 fouls. Plus, the thing with Georgia is their perimeter defense is going to travel just because of how tall they are. You go through pretty much every game they've played, no one's been able to make threes on them because everyone they're playing is 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" in the backcourt. So I think Georgia's thing, Blake hit it. I think on the road, they're going to have to keep up offensively. Are they going to be able to score enough points with a Florida, with an Auburn, stuff like that?
All right. Let's get to some other stuff here. Virginia double dribbled earlier. By the way, I think I may have removed one of the chats. I didn't mean to. It says, in lifetime gone from Larry Conley providing analysis of SEC basketball league-wide to this. Getting older has been great, yeah. Who knew, right, that the evolution of SEC basketball coverage would be us doing 2 live streams a day, most days, just, talking SEC basketball. Who knew that would be the thing, right? But here we are, and we're glad you guys enjoy it. We appreciate all the supports. We're trying to promote the game for you guys, as we say every day here, doing everything we can. We reached out to some of those people you put on the list, the coaches you want to see here on the channel. We've reached out. We'll see what happens on that. All right. Dustin brought up earlier that Keyshawn Murphy should be in the breakout player combo from last night. We may not have mentioned him. Not sure.
I mentioned him. I told everybody to go watch the Scott Padgett interview.
I can't imagine Max not mentioning Keyshawn Murphy.
I don't. It all runs together. I don't know.
Not going to happen. I'm going to mention him.
Virginia double dribbled also wants the ultimate litmus test here. Should the Vandy baseline benches be moved? I know what the chat's going to say. But listen,
they can't. I think it's like a physical impossibility with the structure of the gym.
Well, that was quite a technical answer I was not expecting.
No, I'm being completely serious.
I know, the way the seats are seated, I get it. Yes, like they can't. Yeah, they can't do it. So
sounds like a hassle.
If you ever walk in and sit on the front row, right before we go there, if you ever walk in and sit on the front row there, it hits you about chest high, and that's part of the issue.
Well, you may think that's an issue, Chris, but when I get hit chest high, you know what I think? It's usually my face smiling at the idea of Sanders Logistics.
Oh.
That's usually when, I can't even put it in words, to be honest with you. But when we talk about our friends at Sanders Logistics, which Max, just a tremendous lead-in. Let's all applaud Max for the lead-in here. They will also get you excited, chest high, because Shane talks about all the ice on the roads he's got.
Ooh,
he needs Sanders Logistics.
Where are you, Shane?
Right? Someone else earlier
know what's coming
said
our
something
way
about Sanders Logistics, and I think we may accidentally taken it off the comments, but that's all right. We'll get back to it. ES is asking, did he miss that was the comment earlier. I can't find it, but also had a great comment earlier. I'll see if I can pull it up here on Sanders Logistics. Just tremendous, tremendous people, as I keep saying. Ted R. Sanders, here it is. What a beautiful day to be in SEC country.
Ooh,
if you aren't already here, if you're, you've got the ice, you're trying to, let's say, move Vanderbilt's benches to the side. If you want to do any of that, ES knows someone who can help you with that, and that's Sanders Logistics. They're always standing by. They're waiting for your call. 25 hours a day. Just like getting 5 teams from the SEC in the Final Four, Sanders Logistics working for you 25 hours a day because they were known as Ted R. Sanders Moving, and they said, you know what? No, we're Sanders Logistics because we are a leader among moving companies in Nashville, Tennessee, and the surrounding area. And our logistics are so great that we decided we are going to get some professional movers who are focused on delivering efficient, hassle-free moving at an affordable price. Whether you're moving across town or across the country, or you're just moving benches from the baseline to the sideline, Sanders Logistics has you covered. If you want Vanderbilt to move the benches, call Sanders Logistics. They'll do it. If you want them to move Vanderbilt's benches somewhere in Oregon, they'll do that. If you want them to move them to Spain, they probably won't do that, but they'll move them anywhere in the country that you want, and they'll do it because, again, they're tremendous people, some of the best people I've ever known, your friends and mine. Visit them at TedRSandersMoving.com.
Could they move a heating unit to your garage?
Yes, because they can do anything. So
I feel like we got to have a heating and cooling sponsor. It just fits.
we're working on it. We got some new sponsors in the works, folks. Some new ad reads. Oh, boy. If you thought this has been fun so far, we got some new ad reads coming. So brace yourselves. So
I'm going to run through the Saturday slate real quick just because we're going to have some predictions coming out today, right? Today or tomorrow? We'll
as soon as we finish this live stream, we are going in to make our predictions for Saturday's games. So, translation, if you want us to pick your team or pick against your team, now's the time to send those super chats. Again, we always accept bribes when it comes to our picks.
Yes.
So, Max, run through
Here's
it.
the schedule. Yep, they started off with Auburn at South Carolina, standalone SEC game there. Then moving on to 2:30 Central, Missouri hosting Vandy. There's a little bubble game there. That's a big one. 3 Central, Florida going to a desperate Arkansas team. That is a very interesting game. 5 Central, maybe the biggest, like the most important game for a specific team, Texas hosting Tennessee. Texas, that would be a massive home win. 5 Central also, Georgia hosting Oklahoma. So that's 3 straight ranked at unranked there. Florida at Arkansas, Tennessee at Texas, Oklahoma at Georgia. That's going to be chaos. Also at 5 Central, Ole Miss hosting a shorthanded LSU team. And then the nightcap is 7 Central. Two huge games. Texas A&M hosting Alabama, top 10 AP poll matchup. And then the final game, 7:30 Central, Mississippi State hosting Kentucky, game of the day right there. What a slate we have on Saturday.
Yeah.
Honestly, not a single bad game.
Mm-mm.
Well,
The
crowd's letting us know who they want us to pick in that Kentucky-Mississippi State game. So we'll find out. We're gonna head into picks here shortly. And yeah, we'll find out. As Eli said, yeah, the hump's going to be absolutely insane.
Pack
We're
the
putting
hump.
Skylar in charge of getting some decor sponsors for the walls here. And Drew going to jump in with it. Look at this. We got multiple super chats on the way out here. Look at this. We got to get into these. Drew gives a $1.99 super chat. How would you power rank Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida? Drew, here's the thing. All right. I could give you the answer right now. Or I could say tune into the power rankings on Monday. Because if we give it away now, unless Chris wants to, I think Chris is ready to bite on this one. So if he wants to, go for it. But I'm going to hold off my
That's an interesting combination of teams there, and I think I know why it was chosen.
Ask me after Saturday.
Drew, join us on Monday.
Just can't wait for it. Wants to know. Oh, man. Drew, it's whatever order you want it to be. All right?
Yeah.
You gave the $1.99 super chat. So, yes, quite an interesting group, as we know, because Kentucky has beaten Florida, Florida's beaten Tennessee, and you've kind of got an interesting setup there. So, all right.
Zach with the $5. Again, Zach is just on a roll. South Carolina is going to play like the Golden Age Warriors.
97 Bulls. Someone said 97 Bulls last night. Now we got the 15 Warriors. So the Gamecocks about to score 128 maybe against the Auburn Tigers. We'll find out. So there you go. Oh, Eli, $1.99 super chat here. Kentucky hasn't lost since 2010. History matters. So, all right.
In that series?
What? In that series?
We'll talk about
Can't be right.
on the video.
Eli knows his dogs.
We'll talk about it on the video, folks.
Here we go.
All right, we're out of here. Predictions time. Ooh, get ready. Oh, by the way, before we get into that, all predictions coming today, as you know. Tomorrow, enjoy the predictions again. It will be a snow day for most people, maybe. Who knows? May get a little frisky. May decide tomorrow, you know what? There's 14 inches of snow outside. Turn on the live stream. Let's talk about it. But we'll also have you guys covered on Saturday. Reaction after certain game slates, and then, of course, the prime time reaction Saturday night, which will be after the late game here, Kentucky and Mississippi State. So a big main event on Saturday night. So
I feel like we need to have a guess how cold it'll be in Blake's garage tomorrow.
Oh, I've already said I'm not. If it snows, I'm not doing this from the garage tomorrow. I'm streaming from outside in the snow. What's the difference? I mean, it's the same temperature. So just give you a little better background. You want a sponsor? I got some trees. Sponsored by the trees. All right. So absolutely, I'm going to find a way to stream from outside in the snow tomorrow. All right. That's my promise to you guys. So. Oh, yeah, look, we do have to consider this. Like, everybody's talking about could games potentially get postponed and all that. That there is that we do have to sort of think about these possibilities, but we'll see. It's all going to depend on, as usual, it's like who's getting the snow, who's getting the ice, who's getting, all those things. So remember, you could have some atmospheres, home atmospheres, a little bit affected potentially in some of these games this weekend. So we'll find out depending on the weather.
No,
because the roads on Saturday not going to be good.
Would that game get postponed because they're getting snow in Columbia, or because Auburn can't get out of town? Like this,
I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But I would assume if you're knowing that this snow apocalypse is coming, you're probably adjusting your travel plans a little bit if you're teams. You don't want to be the Chiefs. What was it? The Chiefs were sitting on the runway for 6 hours or whatever. They finally made it to Denver. But
wow, look at this.
So there you go.
I didn't know that was a thing in Columbia, to be honest.
Yeah, like that's who's going to get snow, who's going to get ice. That's going to be the big story here. So we'll give you our weather report at 9 on the 9s. Weather report, Southeastern 16. All right, we're out of here. We got to do predictions.
All right, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. For Max Barr and Blake Lovell, I'm Chris Lee. God bless you. Stay safe. Stay warm. You've been watching Southeastern 16.